So without further ado, let's get going. Let's turn on our speaker mics here. And I'll ask you to introduce your name, and if you'd like to say kind of what type of residence you live in here. And Beth, you can start. And your first question is, please tell me about your downsizing experience and the preparation you took for your move.
Thank you. Is it on?
It should be on, and just hold it up to your mouth.
Got it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hold it closer.
Closer to your mouth.
Closer.
There you go.
All right. John and I have actually downsized 3 times in our 15-year marriage. When we first got married and I moved into his house here in Lexington from Richmond, we didn't downsize dwelling, but we certainly downsized goods. Then 7 years ago, we moved from our 5-bedroom, 3-bath house to a 2,500 square foot condo on Main Street. And then last year, we moved from that condo to a 1,725 foot apartment here. So we've gotten pretty good at downsizing. And the one thing I will say, which I think you'll probably hear again several times, is you have to be in the right frame of mind. Don't even think about it if you're depressed, sick, stressed over other things, because it won't happen. So just, if you need a stiff drink, take it, and then do what you gotta do. I would highly recommend that when you downsize, you get, I haven't done my hands here. I would suggest, and we have done this every time we've moved, that you get some 1/4-inch graph paper, take excellent dimensions of the rooms you're working with, and draw it out on graph paper, including the doors and the windows. Then either go online or buy somewhere a furniture template. This is one I printed out offline, which will give you furniture in the same scale, 1/4-inch scale, as your room dimensions. Personally, I make my own, and here they are in a bag. But you can also buy plastic templates that you put down on your graph paper, but I prefer these because you can move them around. Once you draw a piece of furniture onto your floor plan, if it doesn't fit, you got to erase it, and it's really more difficult. So I would suggest you make your own little templates or buy templates. Then carefully peruse the furniture you have. Oh, I should back up and say this. Fortunately, neither one of us is terribly sentimental about things, which makes it a lot easier. If one of you is sentimental and the other is, that's another whole therapy session. And so I wish you a lot of luck there. But the things we're sentimental about are little things our children and grandchildren have given us, or small things we've given each other. So there's never really been any, disagreement over what furniture or large items we should take. Then divide your things up into 3 piles. The things you must take with you, the things you want to give to children and charity or friends, and trash. Then start laying out your furniture on the floor plan. Get it in a pleasing arrangement. Now, a floor plan will only show your width and length dimensions. It does not show height. So when you're planning it, make sure you don't have all your tall, dark wooden pieces on the same wall. This can save you so much time, and your movers will love you forever if they can bring a piece of furniture in and put it down once and not have to move it. Otherwise, if you haven't planned carefully what pieces will actually fit in your rooms, you may end up, I say 99% of the time, you will end up with more furniture than you can handle, and then you're stuck at the last minute with making the decision of what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So I highly recommend you do floor plans and get some templates and arrange your furniture. If you are dividing things up among children, we all think our children love each other and everybody's going to get along great, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. The last time John and I moved, when we moved here, we have 5 children among us, and once we decided what pieces were being left over, I took pictures of them and emailed pictures to the children, and I said, I want you to give me a list in order of priority of what items you'd like to have. We only included the large pieces. I mean, I didn't include every piece of Tupperware, but, the furniture and art that was significant. They each sent their list back, and as our luck would have it, which is really good luck at this point, nobody had the same item as their number 1 item. So we divided things up according to priority, and if more than one child had the same item on their list, whoever had it as their highest priority got it. Everybody was happy, everybody got things they wanted, and it worked out beautifully. The one thing we did not try to do was to even things up monetarily, which you could do that in your will. Don't worry about it now. But anyway, those are my tips. I hope they will help you.
Wonderful. Hardin, same question. Tell us about your process.
Good morning to all of you. My name's Hardin Marion. I'm here with my wife, Heather. I'm delighted to see so many people I know out here in the audience, and I look forward to having you as our friends and neighbors here at Kendal before too much longer. Heather and I moved to Lexington in 2000. But before that, in 1997, we had bought the house that we moved to in 2000. We made it hard on ourselves to downsize because we furnished the house here, by and large, before we moved everything that we had in the house in Baltimore down to Lexington. So we had enough to furnish a couple of houses. And the reason for that was, as everybody probably knows by now, I said to anybody who would ask, I'm never moving into a retirement community. This is the house I'm going to live in until I die. Well, that was in 2000. I got on the board at Kendal and found out what a wonderful place it was and changed my mind, so we're now living here. We're living in a 1,500 square foot cottage over here on Sycamore Lane. We wanted a 2,000 square foot cottage, or thought we did. We thought we did. You'll have your turn. We moved into the 1,500 square foot cottage and absolutely love it. We were offered a 2,000 under terms of our arrangement with Kendal, and we said no, we don't want to move. We're happy where we are, and we are. We are absolutely in the right place for us. I'm happy we don't have the 2,000 square foot cottage to fill. Now, downsizing. To get in there, we had to do some serious downsizing, and Heather's going to talk to you about the furniture and the kitchen and things like that. Let me talk to you about a few things that were my responsibility. Books. I had about 3,000 books in Lexington in our home here. I never counted because there were too many, but I ended up giving away probably half of them. It was very tough to do. I would start at one end of a bookcase in a room and go down and pull books off. I said to myself, I can get rid of that. When that didn't seem like enough, I'd go through the same process again. I'd go back to the beginning, go down the books, pull off books that I thought I could get rid of. I gave more than 1,000, I think, to Washington and Lee. I gave so many that I had to split the gift up between 2 years because they weren't going to be appraised, and you could only deduct, I think, $5,000 of unappraised things in a year. So I gave the school 2 batches of books. Kendal got a bunch of books. I gave Kendal my Library of America series, which was every book the Library of America had made from the very beginning, and it's right outside here in its bookcase. And I gave Kendal a lot of other books, and I gave the church some books. So I ended up with about half the books. Then I measured with a ruler the length of the books in each bookcase, so I knew how many linear feet of books I was going to take to Kendal. And we had to make arrangements for bookcases to be done. Heather spotted, with Jessica's help, in another cottage on Sycamore Lane that was being prepared, a fireplace with bookcases on both sides, and came back and talked to me. I looked at it, I said, we've got to do that too. We did it. We had some bookcases that were already there, and we were bringing in 2 standing bookcases for another room. But a week before we moved in, I said to Jessica, this is not quite enough book space, because Heather said, you can't have every inch. On the books, I've got to put some doodads in there, you know, that split it up and give it some character and all that sort of thing. So I asked Jessica, can they put in another stack of bookcases next to this other one on the one side of the fireplace? She said yes, and it looks like it was planned all along. So we have just barely enough bookcases for our books.
His books.
Men's clothes. That's a different problem than women's clothes. I looked at the clothes in my closet and said, there's some in here that I haven't worn for at least 2 years. If I haven't worn them for 2 years, I said I'll get rid of them. So I gave them to Heather to give to Goodwill or somebody. And I got down to where I could handle my clothes. Memorabilia. Those are the toughest things to deal with. I had stuff that went back to my college days. I'm told I have to quit. You don't want to hear? I had stuff, I had every paper I've ever written and got a grade on at Washington and Lee. And I'd carried them around for 60-some years and never looked at them. So I decided, okay, I can probably throw those away. I had a scrapbook that I prepared back in my early days as a young lawyer. I loved it, but I never looked at it. That disappeared. Other things I kept, and they're in a special place for me to look at one of these days.
And Hardin, we'll come back to you again after we go through. So Heather, why don't you follow up?
I'm Heather Marion. We moved here in 2000 to one of the cottages with 4 big dogs, 3 standard poodles and a Labradoodle. We had to put 3 of them to sleep last year, but we have a new puppy now, which was a mistake. I just mentioned that. I adore her, but for downsizing, I started with a notebook with all kinds of things in it that were going on. There was so much going on that I had to keep it organized. One of the things I started was taking pictures of every piece of furniture that I knew I wanted to take. And
Excuse me, Heather. Hardin, can you hold the mic for Heather as she's showing this?
right,
Hold this.
yeah, hold that so I can talk. And anyway, so I have this notebook with pictures of everything I wanted to take. And as it turned out, it worked, it fit. I had measured the floor plan, and everything that came fit perfectly. Now, my garage is full. A.P. Smith came over one day and rearranged things a little bit. It was just an amazing experience. Now, we had the advantage, we still had this big house here in Lexington. So if I needed a different lamp, I could go get it. Now, to get rid of all that furniture, our children really didn't need or want anything. So, Habitat. I had been on the board of Habitat for a long time. They have a restore. They have 2 restores. They took 5 truckloads to the store. They had a grand reopening. I walked in and there was my house with people with my linens over their arms and lamps in their hands. And I thought, and Easter bunnies for my Easter decorations. I thought, great, they have a home. So I really recommend that. Of course, I haven't followed my notes, but one thing I want to say, when we moved, I decided I would have this postcard made to send to everybody, telling them we moved and our email address and phone number and all that. Vistaprint, it's very inexpensive. For $20, I got 100 of these colored photographs that I could send to people. Unfortunately, I only sent about 50 because I never got around to the rest. So if anybody needs one of these, I have a whole stack of them. I took the photograph, right, and you design your own card. Do it on the computer. It's amazing. It didn't cost me $20. It was amazing. So I'll pass it on.
I'm still laughing. My
Thank you,
name is
Gordon.
Gordon Baker, and I've lived here for almost 7 years. And the downsizing was difficult, but I had crossed the country a couple of times. My husband had died along the way, And so I was doing it sort of all by myself, fairly organized, and but I had already gotten rid of a lot of stuff. I had way too much to begin with. Books were the hardest. I love books, I love to read. Nothing like Mr. Marion over here, but nevertheless. My kids came, I have 3 kids, and they came, the 2 girls each took various things. My son took only a sword from an ancestor in 17 something or other, because his middle name happens to be that name. And he really didn't want anything else. He didn't have room. And the 2 girls came to blows over one painting. And I was so stressed at that point that I just thought, I can't handle it. You're going to have to do it. And the aggressive daughter got the painting. and it was not fair, but that's the way it is. And I see it on her wall, and it sort of ticks me off. However, then a friend of mine had, I lived in New Hampshire at this point. I had, as I say, gone back and forth across the country. She had had an antique dealer come. I didn't have an awful lot of antiques, but I had things that maybe somebody would want. And she came with cash and bought a whole lot of stuff right then and there, and she and her partner took it away, which lessened the stress. And at the very end, I had some stuff, table and chairs that were sort of family important, but I just didn't have room for them here. And so there was a lady in town who had a child with cystic fibrosis, and she had a store called 65 Roses, and she took people's cast-offs and sold it and gave the money to the charity. So that's what I did. I don't think you can avoid the stress. I think I'm probably a stressful person anyway, and it got worse. And but I knew where I was coming, and I have never regretted it. I think the best tip, and you've already heard this, I have the picture. I live in a cottage, a 1-bedroom and den, and 1-bath cottage that also has the biggest screen porch, I am told. Oh, it's time. I have 1 minute left. So I had enough room really for the important furniture, and some of which is on the screen porch. But I made a floor plan, or I adjusted a floor plan that was in the Kendal little booklet that shows the floor plans of all the cottages and so forth. And then I just placed my furniture. I didn't go as far as you. I didn't make cutouts. I have a good eye. And when I moved in, we did all of that. We fixed everything. And we made one change. One of my clever daughters decided, hey, Mom, you know, this would be better. And she was right. And I had put a table out thinking that I would have dinner there, and I don't. I eat dinner in the dining room or the restaurant. So anyway, that's the story. This is the nicest place I've probably ever lived, and the people are nice, and it's a community of people. And probably the only thing I miss is some of the rugs that were too big, and I couldn't bring them with me. But I have happy memories of all those things that I used to have. And I do have some plastic boxes under my bed.
Thank you, Gordon. Diane?
Okay, I'm Diane Herrick. I have lived here for 4 years now, and I want to talk about a little different emphasis on this whole thing, which is the head part. Making a plan and the emotional stress, which they've all mentioned about doing this. In my situation, my husband died suddenly, and my sister was in the stage of terminal cancer, and indeed her service was 3 months after Bruce's. So I was really, really stressed. After Bruce died, I felt that there was a hole at the house, and I didn't like that. We had always known that we would move to Kendal, and I came over here to say that I wanted my name moved up on the priority list. They showed me an apartment which was ideal as far as I was concerned, so I made a decision 2 months after Bruce died. So then it was going through the emotional trauma of kind of getting my head ready. But I have a daughter-in-law who is actually a project coordinator. And talking with her helped me then get my arms around how I would even tackle this, what seemed like an unsurmountable task about downsizing. Because I moved from a house with 3 times the area of my apartment. And I planned then what I would do well, first of all, I got the house ready to sell, and that was stressful in itself, but I had a wonderful, wonderful workman that helped me through that process to do the little diddly things on the house that you know you should have done before, but you hadn't done. So he helped me on that, and the house did sell quickly for me. And then I began the process of actually going through the rooms on the house. I knew during January I would do that floor. During February, I would do that floor. I gave myself a week's vacation to go with friends in March, and then I came back and really went at it. They've talked about where you can give things, and I'm sure you'll hear about that. But for me, it was having the plan in my head of how I would go about it, because it's a mountain when you look at it, but if you take it tablespoon by tablespoon, you can do it. If you just have your outline in mind and what your timetable is. I think it was very painful because it was the end of a chapter of my life with Bruce. It was the end of the chapter of being in that house. I did cry, and I cried a lot. I think that's important. I think that when you close one chapter of your life and know that you're going to do it, it was okay. I was happy about it, that it's okay. Bruce had a wonderful train layout, and that was probably the most difficult part, and the books. But there was even someone who wanted to buy a lot of what was in the train room, and a lot of it went as gifts to some of the people that he had worked with for so many years. And I realized that it wasn't the having the train room, it was that Bruce had realized a lifelong ambition, and also that the pleasure was in the doing and not the having. And I think when you can get your mind to adjust to things like that, and you can take your memories with you however you want, that it makes it okay. Hard, but still okay. So the move was even better than I thought, and I have to tell you, I am so happy that downsizing is behind me. I feel really proud that I have done that. It's a gift to my kids. I kept a few things, but I was really tough. When my son, who's sometimes a pretty stiff critic of me, said, "Boy, Mom's being ruthless," I think that I was doing a pretty good job. So really be tough and don't overcrowd your place when you come in. But it was a good move, even better than I thought it would be.
Thank you, Diane. Kay?
Hi, I'm Kay Quirk. I've been here since July. I moved here from Alexandria, Virginia, where I lived in a pretty small condominium. It was a one-bedroom. But the big advantage was that I had a storage area. And so you know storage areas, out of sight, out of mind. That's how it was for me. So my biggest issue in moving and getting ready to move was that storage area, because it had a lot of memorabilia in it, because my mother had cleaned out her relatives' houses and they had a lot of nice things, and they were all in boxes in my storage area. And things that I didn't have room to use, or didn't have room for them, I just couldn't use them, but I had to get rid of them at this point. So what I did was, I also had a lot of my memorabilia, like Hardin. I had scrapbooks, I had old letters, and lots of things. What I did with the things from my mother's side of the family was I took some of them to resale shops. There's a lovely shop in Alexandria that takes high quality things and tries to sell them for you, but it's not just a resale shop, it also has other things. I got rid of a few things there, but some of them are back in my apartment now. Too nice to, I don't know. I don't want to donate them because they're just too nice. But anyway, there was the Limoges china, and I thought, well, I'll use that. I used it a couple of times for my breakfast or my lunch, but that's it. Lots and lots of lovely crystal. I brought all of that. I try to use it occasionally, but I like it, so I didn't get rid of it, and I have room for it. When it came to the books, it's kind of the same thing. Books are so heavy, and I had a lot of them in the attic from when I had moved from my other condo into the condo that I was moving from. And I just went through them and donated a lot to the library. I think that was the main thing. And then I brought a lot of them here, and I donated some to the Kendal Library, and they also have a really nice book sale, so I gave them there. Let me see, I'm getting short on time, so let me see what I've caught here. Oh, I brought a lot of things, the memorabilia I brought, and that's a rainy day project. It's all piled up in the corner, and I will get to it because it's been organized, but I just need to go through it. I want to create a family tree from some of that memorabilia, just for myself, because I don't really have any relatives that are interested in any of this. And let's see, I try to use the nice silver occasionally. And let's see, oh, eBay. There's an eBay store in Alexandria, so I sold a fair number of things at that eBay store, and that was very helpful. I took one book of stamps that I had collected to an auction house, and I got $75 for that, and that was a great thing to do because I had no idea if there was anything valuable, but stamp collectors will buy something like that on the off chance that there's something good in there. Let's see, for moving, I enlisted the help of, are we talking about moving now, or is that later? The help? Well, anyway, I enlisted the help of some friends, and they were absolutely great because they had helped downsize their relatives, and they knew exactly what to do, and they had no emotion attached to anything. So they could just go through it, and they were fabulous. I brought a lot of cookbooks. I don't do much cooking, but I like my cookbooks, so they're going to stay here for a while. And I donated a lot of books to the church's library here in town. And Christmas decorations, I'm feeling stuck with those because I donated some here to Kendal, but I still have a lot of nice things, and I just have to get past that, which I'm not there yet. Sometimes I really hate to donate things to Habitat and see them sell for $2, when you know they're worth a lot more than that. So that's about it. I'll answer questions later. Thank you.
Sure. And why don't we start, keep the mic, Kay, and we're just going to, our last question for all of you resident panelists is just give us your top 1 or 2 tips. If you had one thing to tell our audience here, what do you want to leave them with?
Okay, my best tip is not to spend a lot of time dealing with memorabilia. Just bring it with you and deal with it.
Diane?
The other thing is to bring what you love and let go of the rest.
Thank you. I think that's a good thought. I would say make a plan and follow your plan, but don't be too tough on yourself if it's real hard. It's okay, you're going to do it, and just keep on going, and it helps. You'll be happy that you did.
I actually used my one good tip earlier. I think my plan of how to furniture design and so forth is something that's important to me, and how to go about it. It was rather seamless, and it's still there, and it works, and that's important to me. I did bring the memorabilia with me. I am currently working on a family tree system for, all the different names in anybody's family tree, and I'm having a ball because now I have the time to do it. That's not the tip.
Don't bring the memorabilia with you.
See, this is a little bit complicated.
I have a closet with 35 photograph albums. It takes the entire, every shelf. Getting rid of things like the bathing suits you haven't worn for 10 years, but you've got great memories, take pictures of them. And then it's easy to toss them. I had pleated skirts that I hadn't worn for 10 years or 20 years that wouldn't fit me ever again. Just take photographs. I laid them all on the bed. I had 25 baby dresses that my daughter wore. I laid them all out on the bed, took a picture, and gave them away. But I have the picture, and that's important. So don't bring the memorabilia.
I didn't take pictures of all those papers I submitted to They just went. My first tip is to understand that you can live with a lot less than you have. Second, and I've kind of said this, if you haven't worn it, used it, or looked at it for blank years, fill in the blank, 60 years, 10 years, 2 years, whatever, get rid of it. Have I done that? No, not completely. Heather gave away her skis and ski boots because we haven't skied in more than 10 years. I said, don't give away my skis because I may ski again. Have I? No. So that's the corollary to the last tip of mine. And that is, if you know you have something, but don't know where it is, you probably don't need it. And get rid of it. I don't know where the skis are. I think I may be able to find them in our cottage. They're probably stuck in the room that has the...
They're in the attic.
Heather is our attic keeper. We didn't know we had an attic when we moved in, and of course that opened up a lot of space to bring more than we thought we were going to bring.
It's filled.
Anyway, my last tip is also realize that you can live in a lot less space than you think you'll need. We got a 1,500 square foot cottage. It has a second bedroom on the plan. We live in the same bedroom and sleep in the same bed, although our hours of sleeping are a little different. So what Heather said, you take the second bedroom and make it your reading room. It's my reading and TV room. And if we have somebody who wants to visit us, sometimes they have slept on the floor on a blow-up mattress or sunny side house. It's certainly a lot less expensive to put somebody up 5, 6, 8 times a year in Sunnyside than to pay for a bedroom that nobody sleeps in most of the time.
Thank you. And Beth?
I think that people have mentioned attics and basements can be a blessing or a curse. They're a blessing when you move in and a curse when you move out. So get, again, in the right frame of mind, go to your basement, go through items, and I recommend that you set up a monetary limit on things you choose to get rid of. If you look at that avocado blender or the hula hoop and think you're going to use them both again, but they're under your price limit of $25 that you're willing to pay for a new one, get rid of them. This works really, really well because a lot of things you're keeping are not expensive at all and you can replace them if you need them. I'd like to leave you with a bit of philosophy from a very unlikely philosopher, and that is Mr. T. I hope a lot of you remember him from the A-Team. Mohawk, a lot of jewelry. Yeah. Pat Meyercheck remembers him. He said, when somebody asked him about all his gold and jewelry and what he worried about, he said, I am not going to cry over anything that can't cry over me. It is a wonderful piece of philosophy. Use it.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and it was a lot even funnier. So we have a comedy routine act that I think we can take